Roll call.
Terry Sachs.
Here.
Merle Webster. Here. Charles Leidy.
Here.
Tom Manning. Here. Kevin Tobias. Carol Shore.
Here.
Tom Keeper.
Here.
A few announcements.
We got 2 seats left. Come on, Jeff. Come on, John.
Township meetings are recorded for the purpose of preparing the minutes, and recording is destroyed when the minutes are approved. It is requested that all persons wishing to speak before the board shall state their name, address, and the subject matter upon which they wish to speak for the record. In the interest of facilitating the business of the board, all persons addressing the board shall be limited to 2 minutes unless such time is extended by the chairman for good cause. Individuals are requested to remain in their seats and to respect when others are speaking. Board of Supervisors will provide a reasonable opportunity for citizens to comment on any non-agenda items after all agenda items have been addressed, but prior to the adjournment of the public meeting. These rules were adopted January 30th, 2018.
I'd like to add to that. I want to remind everyone this is called a work session, which the purpose of this is for the supervisors to accomplish work. So I want to remind people that comments are strictly limited to 2 segments, especially in this venue. So we need to get through our work. There are 2 parts during the meeting where we allow public comment, so we're going to ask you to respect that, and we may ask you to hold your question until the comment period so we can get through our agenda.
We do have 2 visitors this evening. The first is Daryl Peck with Concord Financial and Ben Goldthorpe with Summit Properties.
What would you like to be? What would you like to be?
Up to your will.
Where
Happy to go
would you
first, so
like to
whichever you like.
Stick to the agenda. Daryl
go? I
was
mean, where would you
first.
like? I mean, where would you like
Yeah.
to physically be?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. I'm here fine, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Like me to remain seated or
people
stand?
That's up to you. Can people behind hear you? Okay, great.
Just close that. Okay. And here. Here's 4 for this other table. See there. Okay, good evening, Daryl Peck with Concord Public Finance. I thought I'd start out with quickly recapping where we started, what I was last charged with. Also to recap what we discussed at the special meeting on October 19th. And also maybe at the outset here talk about what I feel is the agenda and the objectives we want to get through, and obviously the will of the board at that point. But so again, to quickly review the proposals that we've reviewed already, review an additional term option of 25 years that we discussed as a possible objective. Really look for a determination from the board to move forward, should you decide to do so, and make a decision. Possibly or probably have a look to ask for a special meeting, potentially the week of November the 12th. This is all consistent with the schedule you've seen before. And very lastly, we'll want to talk at the end about drawing the remainder of the fund that's available on the existing Fulton loan. I won't go into that right now, but I just wanted to sort of alert you to that. Okay? The first page of the handout, the whole top part is again what we talked about on October 19th. So again, quickly, the last time we met in the work session in early October, you directed us to go out and solicit proposals for the financing to refinance the 2015 note. We did that. I'm going to do this very briefly because we did talk about this as a board. So we went out to over 30 banks. 4 banks responded. We got 10 proposals. The best proposal we received was from the First National Bank in Newtown. That's highlighted in yellow. The interest rate is 3.25% fixed for a period of 10 years, variable thereafter, but subject to a cap of 5%. That blends, if you will, to an all-in interest rate on a worst-case basis of about 3.719%. And that's pretty much consistent with the numbers we were talking about when we, met over the past month or so. I mean, pretty clearly that's the best option. of what we got. A couple highlights on the proposal. It is prepayable at any time without penalty, so all the flexibilities of the township. As you're moving forward, if there's an option to prepay, you can do so at any time, and again, without penalty. Knowing that that's the best bank proposal we got, we then did a comparison to a bond issue, because that was really the discussion and the charge. We did that again, high level here. Pretty clearly, I think it jumped off the page when we met, that the First National Bank, the Newtown proposal is better than a bond issue from an absolute interest rate standpoint, which translates to you as a lower payment, which I think is the key objective that the board was looking for is how can we lower our payment? Based upon that RFP that we did, was for the same 22-year term that you existing have. And that was going to lower your payment by about $25,000 in that $620,000 range. As Kevin and I were going through the process of the RFPs, we were trying to really drill into what's the main objective here. Clearly, it's a refinancing. Clearly, it's to improve your financial position with respect to the interest rate. But I think one of the real drivers was, how can we lower our payment, and certainly responsibly. So after getting this proposal and doing analysis, we went back to First National Bank of Newtown and said, would you be willing to also offer a proposal for a term of 25 years? 3 more years certainly seems responsible, certainly seems reasonable with respect to the system you're building. Pretty clearly, you're building a new treatment plant, you're building a collection system, which have useful lives, 30, 40 years, probably on the collection system, certainly longer than that. I don't know if Carol want to chime in or just sort of. Okay. So why would you do that? If you were, so with the alternative option of 25 years, this is really the new information, with the alternative option in red at the bottom of 25 years, 3 more years, again, First National Bank of Newtown offered the same interest rate term, so the same 3.25%, the same cap for the entire 25 years. That term of 25 years, the annual payment would go down to $575,000. So an overall reduction of about $70,000 from compared to your current $645,000. I think that really seems to be the objective, if I understand it correctly. So change your payment from $645,000 to $575,000 beginning in 2019, and then it will of course stay there as a not to exceed payment for the entire 25 years. Almost think about like your home mortgage. The longer you go, the lower your payment's going to be. It's frankly what can you afford within responsible reason. So with that, I maybe I'll ask the board. It seems though you want to move forward, probably with the longer term, getting that payment lower to the $575,000, and that's what I put in the remaining schedules again, based upon my conversation with Kevin as well. So I can present to you a comparative analysis on page 2 of the 25-year term.
Sorry, just a clarifying question. So if the cap does not reach 5%, they might actually be a little lower. That's assuming the cap it goes up to 5%.
Correct.
So it could actually even be a little lower in the later years.
Exactly.
Okay,
Same
great.
conversation we've had about your existing loan. But yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've assumed the cap, so the not to exceed payment is that $575,000 number. Okay? So page 2 is really the executive summary of the refinancing. So your current, when I say your current balance after December 1, because you have payment due on December 1, your balance, the loan will be about $9.2 million. We all know that rate is 2.48% for 3.5 more years. Variable thereafter, subject to a cap. So the new loan would be amount of about $9,250,000. The 3.25% fixed for 10 years. So you're getting 6.5 more years of a locked-in lower interest rate than what you would have potentially with your existing loan. And then you're of course subject to the cap rate for the remaining 15 years. The box in the middle shows your existing 2015 payments of called about $645,000. Again, that's that not to exceed number. The next column to the right there is the proposed 2018 as a 25-year term, a not to exceed payment of $575,000, and then the inner box, the difference or reduction of about $70,000 a year. I think it's helpful too to think about $70,000 a year. So on the column on the far right, I put what's the running balance? You know, how much less payments are you making throughout those years? And you can see it becomes, you know, significant. It gets up to almost $1.5 million. We all understand there's 3 more years, so you know there's 3 more years of payments, but still at that $575,000 number. So, so that's really the presentation in summary form. All the details behind this, but driving force, doing this refinancing will lower your payment by about $70,000, and you'll extend it for 3 years. Certainly, I think reasonable given the project and the objectives of the township.
So for the benefit of everybody that does not have what we have in front of us, a couple things that are really popping out to me. I'm looking on page 2, my fellow supervisors, and for Daryl to see in front, bottom in red, the averages. As you mentioned, we're looking at an average of $71,713.16, and a reduction if we go with this as opposed to what we currently have, correct?
That's correct.
I just want to ask one question, maybe someone can help me with this. You're assuming a total loan of $9,250,000 more or less, but
Yes.
is it going to be closer to 10 million? Are we going to draw the rest of that? How much are we going to draw?
Yes,
The whole
but it won't be
amount?
10 million.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, the original loan was $10 million in 2015. In 2017, you already paid down $400,000.
Okay, I gotcha.
And then on December the 1st of this year, you're going to pay another $405,000.
So this is the remaining of the 10 million?
Exactly.
Got it, okay.
And
Thank you.
we are going to check back at the end here about borrowing the remaining money, which is I think about 2.6 million. That will be available for the collection system
The
project.
remaining drawdown.
Is that correct?
Okay,
So,
all right.
so yes, we're borrowing, the new loan will be an amount necessary to pay off the existing balance as of mid-December, as well as to finance the related costs. So that really is the synopsis of you know, the big picture results of the refinancing, should you go for the 25-year term.
Did they ask for any other requirements, like do we have to bank with them?
No.
No, so this is it, just a loan? Okay. Good, thanks.
All the details behind here, I mean, do you want to quickly flip through that? It's really just all supporting information for the summary that's on page 2. Page 3 is the sources and uses. You know, we already touched on this. $9,245,000 will be the new loan amount. It'll pay off the existing note of about $9.2 million, and it'll finance the related costs. So you're not paying any costs out of pocket. You're rolling those into the loan. Page 4 is the existing 2015 repayment schedule, assuming the cap rate. So, you know, column 6 there shows your not to exceed amount of about $645,000, stopping in 2040. And then on page 5, columns 10 through 15 are the repayment schedule for the new loan based on the 3 1/4 for 10 years, and assuming the cap rate for the remainder has your, annual debt service of about $575,000, and then the same differential on the far right, $70,000 reduction. So this is really just a backup to page 2.
And in order for this to happen, you need an ordinance written and passed.
Yes.
And that's what you'd like to get us to do this evening,
Well, yes.
to have a resolution to prepare an ordinance.
Yes, yes. So now we're at step 3 of my sort of agenda objectives, as Tom correctly pointed out. I think we're looking for a direction from you that, so I'm not putting words in your mouth, but yes, we like the 25-year term. We'd like to finalize it. prepare or have bond counsel prepare the appropriate ordinance, authorize the advertisement, of course, and bring it back to what will be a special meeting. I really don't think we'll quite make your meeting of the 7th. So we're looking, if possible, to ask you to have a special meeting early the week of November the 12th. Quite frankly, if you give us the direction to move forward, sort of gives us the intent that you plan to do that, that meeting, quite frankly, could be 15, 20 minutes, you know, for the action on the ordinance.
Okay.
So really, we need to think about passing a resolution accepting the offer from First Bank of Newtown to, and you need to pass a resolution that we write an ordinance accepting the offer from Newtown.
And authorizing the debt and refinancing in its entirety.
So is that one resolution or is that more than one?
It's all one.
It's all one?
Yeah. I think we're looking for you tonight to make a motion to, that, you know, that's sort of your will, that's your decision, and we'll bring back the ordinance for its finality.
I've looked at the resume of bond counsel. It's just fantastic. He's a very, very experienced firm. It's what they do. Bond counsel would write the ordinance for us.
Okay, so, tell me if I'm making this right. So I move to go ahead and accept the offer from Newtown National Bank and First National Bank and Trust Company of Newtown to refinance our existing sewage plant loan and have bond counsel write the ordinance. Is that everything?
Yep, and to be considered at a special meeting on
Right. Well, maybe just,
November.
you want to get back to the date after you do your
All right,
motion,
well, I think
or
that's
you want to do it all in one?
all in one.
Okay,
Okay.
yep.
With the last part?
Well, maybe it's just the selection of a date when you would have that special meeting.
That'd be November 12th.
Is that what day of the week is that?
Yeah.
Monday?
That's a Monday, I'm just saying early that
Fine.
week.
And,
You know,
and meet on November 12th to,
Observe,
no,
yeah,
no,
you're
no,
right.
it's not that.
Veterans Day is on the 11th.
Sorry.
We can meet in.
Calendars will
Yeah.
get you.
Is that okay for you? Good to be here?
I would probably be here, yes.
Definitely.
Can everyone make the 12th?
Yeah, Mayor, you thinking morning or evening or?
You don't have to be here either, Karen.
Do it at 11 like we did the other
Doesn't
meeting.
matter to me.
And again, it could be,
available that
it
day.
could be almost a
Yeah,
15-minute
I'm
meeting.
available that day.
Like the last one?
A little bit less than that, but yes.
Great. And have a special meeting on November 12th to
Do you want it in the morning or?
To consider the ordinance.
consider.
Do it at 11 o'clock again?
That's
That
fine.
worked out, that worked out
Okay.
before.
Hours open. I'll second that, if that was the motion, a long motion.
If I got everything right, I think we're good to go.
All right.
Any
Any
questions?
questions?
I have two questions. One, what would be the monthly payment if you stuck it at 22 years versus the 25? And number two is what is the difference in overall payment between a 22-year loan and a 25-year loan?
Okay. If you kept it at 22 years, I want to talk annual because that's what it's in context. It'd be about $620,000. So that's your reduction of $25,000 versus the reduction of $70,000 that we're talking about. And the difference in payment is shown on page 2. The full repayment, and this is both assuming the cap rates. You know, it certainly could be less because the last 3 years I'm assuming it's 5%. The additional payment is about $150,000 for the 25-year term. Based on present value, it's actually a present value savings of about $300,000 because of $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. And you're saving, you're paying less today and you're paying more tomorrow. So I'll keep it, the additional cost is $150,000 to go the extra 3 years.
All right, Brian?
Yeah, that's not a bad deal.
Yes.
What is the difference between the current loan and the
Do we have your
term?
name and?
Oh, sorry, Dana Valentini, 231 Goshen Road. I was just wondering when does the current loan supposed to expire, and how many additional years are we going to pay in the refinance?
The existing loan is set to be paid off in 2040, in terms of 22 more years. We're going 3 additional years for a total of 25.
Okay, so the first option to refinance in the 22 years would be the same number of years that the current loan's at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think, Miguel Gosser, Gerloff Road, I believe I heard, maybe you could clarify this, that there's a potential for the township to pay, and I'm saying this because of my own personal mortgage, is if you pay more than what is the requirement for the monthly payments, then you can pay off the loan sooner, right? Yes.
That is an option, absolutely.
I heard prepayment, yeah, okay. So that it could end up being 22 years if the payments were additional.
Accelerated, yes.
Yeah.
Sherry Schweiker, Schwank Road. So I think I heard that the loan amount would be about 9.25 million. So that led me to believe that the loan initiation costs are about 50,000. Is that correct? And does that include the bond attorney work?
The issuance costs are shown to be $42,000. The additional 10 is really basically the accrued interest, the interest that you would owe the bank for those about a half a month of December. And yes, that is the entirety of the costs, so including bond counsel.
Any other questions?
Linda Jansen, Simmons Road. Just a question on the amount of debt. Since it appears to be above our borrowing base for Act 177, are you going to have to recreate a new self-liquidating debt report? Or how is that addressed? Because with our revenues, and either our tax revenues and our sewer revenues, it's beyond the they total about $2 million, times it by 250%. That means that you can only accrue maybe $5 million more of non-electoral debt. So this almost appears, based on all the numbers that have been being quoted, that this needs to be a ballot item.
A requirement, you are correct about the borrowing base. A self-liquidating debt would need to be delivered in connection with this loan, consistent with what was done in 2015. So, in the submission to the Department of Economic Development, a debt report will be filed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dan Orff, Kratz Road. Do we have to pay any fees or penalties for paying off the Fulton Bank loan?
No.
Okay. Just check.
That's a good question. Daryl, I just want to say good job putting this together. This is fantastic.
Thank you.
Good. You're welcome, my pleasure.
You ready for a
Thanks for the
vote?
opportunity.